what drives some people to take on challenging tasks while others don't. What is more, is there a method for simplifying complex tasks, doing the hard work? Let's first look at the prime suspect, which you may not even be aware about. It is a chemical. You could be thinking, heck, there is no evidence that this is actually harmful to me. This raises the question, can you do anything to stop this from happening? My answer would be, yes, you can. Welcome on board. You are at the LifeCues Junction. Congratulations, you are at the right channel on a wonderful journey called life. Are you ready for a new ride today? Remember, the train leaves on time. So please go ahead, subscribe, and press the bell icon to help us be on time. Done that? Thank you. Let's go. Imagine you have some good time at hand. Someone asks you to research a topic for an hour, a topic that can help your business grow. Or rather, he asks you to watch an entertaining video on social media for an hour. What would you really want to do? No, tell me honestly, what is going to be your immediate instinct? You know the answer. I know that answer too. You probably have no trouble using your phone for entertainment purposes like playing games or checking social media. I have no doubt that you could accomplish both of these things for several hours straight in front of a television without getting distracted at once. Research or study? Oof, perhaps that's too challenging. What about devoting another hour to your side hustle? That's not exactly enticing. You know that spending your time studying, working out, or creating a business will benefit you more in the long run, yet you still choose to do things like using social media. Some might say it's plain to see why. The first task is simple and doesn't take much time or energy, while the second is challenging and requires you to put in some effort. Some people, however, appear to have little trouble devoting consistent time to academics, physical fitness, or extracurricular activities. Which raises the question of what drives some people to take on challenging tasks while others don't. What is more, is there a method for simplifying complex tasks, doing the hard work? My friend, in this video we are going to find that out. Let's first look at the prime suspect, which you may not even be aware about. It is a chemical. It is the dopamine in the brain that holds the key to understanding this topic. In the minds of many, dopamine serves as a chemical gateway to happiness, but this is not entirely what it does though. Dopamine is responsible for our desire, and this may also be what drives us to get out of the bed and do things. Let me present to you an experiment on rats conducted by neuroscientists to demonstrate the potency of dopamine. In this experiment, electrodes were surgically placed into the rats' brains by the researchers. The researchers then activated the rat's brain's reward system whenever the rodent pulled a lever. As a result, the rat's hunger for reward became so intense that they repeatedly pulled the lever for long periods of time. They wouldn't eat or sleep. To the point of fatigue, they would simply keep pressing the lever. But then the experiment took an about turn. The scientists then inhibited dopamine production in the brain's reward circuit. Because of this, the rats got so sluggish that they didn't bother rising up to even drink some water. They simply refused to eat or do anything. They were not experiencing any cravings. The rats appeared to have lost all motivation for living. However, the rats did eat some food when they were fed directly. Simply put, they lacked the drive to get up and do it themselves. You could assume that we go in search of food and water because we are hungry or thirsty. However, dopamine also plays a significant impact on human behavior and daily life. Dopamine plays a significant role in how our brain sets priorities. It is essential to maintaining motivation, and if an activity doesn't produce enough of it, you won't be very interested in doing it. If, however, doing so causes a surge of dopamine to be released, you will be driven to keep doing it. So what actions cause a surge of dopamine? You release it by engaging in any endeavor that has even the remotest promise of a payoff. However, the brain won't release it if you realize there is no immediate benefits to it. For example, dopamine is released in the brain before eating comfort food because of the positive emotional state of anticipation. However, too much of it may be very bad for you. Reason being, your brain doesn't give a damn if the excessive release of dopamine is bad for you. It's content with simply having more of it. A drug addict fits the traditional profile of such a person. What he's doing is bad for him, and he knows it, but he just cares about one thing: getting more of that substance. Dopamine is naturally found in small amounts in almost every substance. Getting a drink of water when you are parched, fully thirsty also helps. Nonetheless, the greatest surge of dopamine is triggered by unexpectedly gaining a reward. The truth is, you can never tell when something like that will occur. And in today's digital environment, we unknowingly saturate our brains with abnormally high levels of dopamine. Activities such as surfing social media, playing video games, viewing pornographic content online, watching YouTube videos one video after the other, all have a high potential for producing dopamine. Each of those actions is motivated by the hope of gaining a favorable outcome. And it explains why we keep checking our phones all the time. As such, we anticipate receiving a notification, whether it be a text message or some other form of communication. We expect to receive it and we know it is coming. Like the rats in the maze, we are constantly chasing after fresh sources of dopamine. You could be thinking, heck, there is no evidence that this is actually harmful to me. However, you would be mistaken. You need to understand homeostasis, which is a biological system that keeps our bodies stable. What this means is that our bodies prefer neutral physical or chemical environments within. If there is a change in our environment, our bodies will adjust to it, like through shivering to produce internal heat in extreme cold, or through sweating to cool the body down when it is too hot. This homeostasis can also show up in a different form, like tolerance. For example, someone who doesn't drink often will have a rapid rate of intoxication. However, a habitual drinker's body will acquire a tolerance to the effects of alcohol and require more alcohol to achieve the same effect, the same level of intoxication. And dopamine isn't really different either. The body downregulates dopamine receptors in an effort to achieve and maintain equilibrium. So your brain will eventually adjust to the constant flow of dopamine and you will begin to consider that amount normal. As a result, your tolerance for dopamine grows. The items that do not provide much dopamine do not seem appealing, which can be a serious issue. Motivating yourself to complete these tasks is also significantly more challenging because they don't trigger nearly as much dopamine release. They come across as dull and uninteresting in comparison to those activities that do. That is why, rather than studying or researching or working on your business, most people would rather spend their time playing video games or surfing the web. Dopamine is released in large amounts when playing video games, leading to a pleasant and a relaxing state of mind. Unfortunately, physical exertion, research or study only release it to a lesser extent. This is a major obstacle for recovering addicts trying to lead a regular life. Their capacity for dopamine overload exceeds what everyday life can provide. If dopamine isn't released enough, they'll become unmotivated or demotivated like the rats in the tests. That also includes people who are not dependent on drugs. The same effect happens to people who are hooked on video games, social media, or pornographic content on the internet. When their tolerance for dopamine rises too high, they can no longer take pleasure in activities that produce low levels of dopamine. This raises the question, can you do anything to stop this from happening? My answer would be, yes, you can. The correct action is to undergo a process of dopamine fasting. In order to let your brain's dopamine receptors repair, you must decide to cease excessively stimulating them for, let's say, 1 day or 2 at a time. In order to maximize this fasting for 24 hours, just do nothing that brings fun. Internet use is forbidden, as is the use of any electronic devices. You're not permitted to engage in musical entertainment, masturbation, or consumption of processed foods. In essence, you are going to spend an entire day or two depriving yourself of any and all external sources of enjoyment. I know this is going to be hard. However, you can do some of the following activities during that fasting. Try getting outside and walking around. Spend some time in quiet reflection by meditating. Consider your life and aspirations. Put down on paper any and all ideas and inspirations you may have. Instead of typing it into your phone or computer, write it out on paper. Perhaps you're wondering why on earth that might be effective right now. This is because you do not know what such a dopamine fasting will actually bring to you. When you deprive yourself of the joy you normally experience, even the things that do not normally appeal to you become more appealing. Dopamine fasting is effective because it causes you to become so bored that even doing mundane tasks really becomes enjoyable. You can undertake a less severe dopamine detox if you would rather not deprive yourself of all the pleasure for 24 hours or let's say a couple of days. Maybe start with just half a day or just by leaving your phone in the kitchen every night. When on dopamine fasting, you will feel bored and that's okay. In fact, it is the point. You need to let your brain's dopamine receptors rest and rejuvenate after being exposed to an abnormally high concentration of dopamine in your brain. In addition, the boredom you feel today will drive you to take action. Chores that you might otherwise avoid, since they do not give you the same rush when you complete them, you are more inclined to do them now that you are bored. Dopamine-rich activities should be avoided on occasion. Another great way to get the so-called hard things done is to try and derive more pleasure with activities that will genuinely improve your life by imagining and visualizing all the good things that it will bring to your life. And holding off your current high dopamine activities to reward yourself with them, once the hard tasks are completed, can serve as an incentive to pursue things that actually give you those long-term rewards. That's right, you may harness your brain's natural reward system, that high dopamine activity, to motivate you to finish tasks that would otherwise be a chore. However, beware, if you are hooked to anything that is bad for your health, you shouldn't treat that behavior as a reward. Find an alternative incentive that is less harmful. My friend, I just want to stress that it is possible to make hard things feel easy. When your brain is constantly being flooded with dopamine, it might be difficult to maintain motivation when concentrating on tasks that don't provide the same rush. That is why it is a good idea to initiate a dopamine fasting immediately if you are having trouble staying motivated, or to set limits on your high dopamine inducing activities. Only then will routine, everyday tasks with low dopamine rewards become fascinating again, allowing you to engage in them for longer and help you achieve your goals and your dream life. Go for it, my friend. By the way, we have got many more videos with great ideas and learnings like in this video. You can find the link in the description or somewhere on the screen. Well, that's all for our ride today. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave us a like and subscribe if not already done so. Thank you for being such a wonderful guest. Take a ride with our next video or see you on our next trip. Till then, take good care of yourself and stay special. Bye-bye.